It's true that you can never have enough clamps, but I have yet to find a good way to store all the clamps I have. In fact, they seem to be everywhere all over my house. For years I've been storing clamps up on my ceiling here, just attaching them to the beam. And I'll probably continue to keep my C-clamps up there, but it gets a little tiresome when I need to get my F-clamps. So as you can see, I just have clamps everywhere. I come around here, I've got the good old-fashioned wood ones. There's another one. Up here some more up on the ceiling. So I need to find a way to locate all my clamps in one place that makes sense. So a couple years ago, I built this rack here for my pipe clamps, and that has worked out really, really well. I don't use the pipe clamps that much, so it's not too big of a problem that it's right behind my drill press. So I'm going to build a clamp rack that's going to be mobile, and it needs to be narrow enough to get through this door, which goes into the other portion of the workshop. And this is probably where that clamp rack will live most of the time, because this is where my workbench is, which is where I plan on doing most of my assembly projects that require clamps. So I know I have some more clamps around the house someplace. Let me see if I can go find them. Ah, here's some. Huh, they're just staring at me. Oh, more clamps! Well, I know I've got at least one more clamp someplace. Oh, here it is, right in the fridge, below my steaks. I've used the jointer and the planer to make some boards of uniform thickness and size, and I've cut them down to create the frame of the base. And I've also taken the time on the drill press to make some nice neat holes and some countersinks for the screws. So now what I'm going to do is I need to screw into this frame member here and then simply screw it all together. I'm going to add just a dab of glue. The screws are really what's going to hold this all together. These are just normal deck screws. And that's all there is to it. I'll continue that for the rest of the frame. Okay, that's the basic frame. Now I still have this middle support, which I'm not going to glue. I'll just screw that together. Turn it sideways. So the frame is all dried now, but the center beam here is a little bit proud of the top surface there. So I'm just going to simply use my old hand plane to bring that down to match the rest of it. I'm going to be putting plywood over this. So I have the blade set at pretty much its lowest possible level, just skimming the surface here. I don't have a piece of plywood big enough to go across the entire bottom of the frame. So instead, I'm going to take this cutoff here, and I'm just going to cut it into two pieces and put that across the bottom. Nobody's ever going to see it, and it will save me some money. This is the bottom of the frame, and I'm simply going to run a bead of glue all the way around. And I'm going to be attaching that thin plywood to the bottom using 1/2-inch staples. I was going to use screws, but the plywood is so thin, I think I'm going to have better luck just using the staples, and the glue will be the thing that really is going to be holding it together, I believe. So I'll just spread this glue out just a little bit better. My very fancy glue spreader. I particularly want to make sure that the edges get glue, because I'm going right up to the edge of the wood here, and then eventually I'm going to be routing a little bit of a round over or a chamfer. I haven't quite figured out what I'm doing there. So now all I'm going to do is put a fair amount of weight on this so the glue will dry. And it's now time for me to take the frame over to the router table and put a chamfer around the bottom edge. So here's the bit I'll be using, and it will simply just run around the outside of the frame. With the concrete block inside the frame, I'm going to add 2 little pieces of wood on either side, which is going to keep that from sliding back and forth once this is enclosed. It is also going to give me a place so that when I screw in the wheels, they will be landing firmly into strong wood, not just the plywood. I drilled a pilot hole for the screws, and then I drilled a fatter hole as well that allows the screw to go farther into the wood. Otherwise, the screws would be just a little bit too short going into the other larger piece of wood. So all I'm going to do is add some glue to the bottom of it and to the front of it, and of course the back. And then just simply put her in place. It's very important that the top be absolutely flush. That's really what I'm concerned about at this point. So she's kind of in there. With the side blocks installed, that keeps the weight right in the middle. And then I've added some other little pieces of wood and wedged them in, so this block really can't go anywhere at this point. I added a piece of 1/4-inch plywood to the top of the frame using blue and brads. I'm waiting for it to dry, and then I'm going to use my router to put a chamfer around the edge. I'm not going to do it on the router table because that would mean having to turn this upside down, and right now it's really heavy with those cement blocks inside. I'm done routing, and it turned out pretty nicely. It is just cheap plywood, so I did have a little bit of tear out. And in addition to doing the routing, I went ahead and attached all 4 wheels, and I'm getting ready to just add a little bit of putty to fill in some of the voids and the little marks up here, because I will be painting this. Thanks for watching. Next episode, I'll be building the frame that can hold all different types of clamps. Please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thank you.